I cheated on my husband, and now I'm watching him slip away. I still remember the day my husband, Trevor, first told me he loved me. His eyes were so sincere, his hands shaking just a little. Back then, I thought we'd be one of those couples who weather anything. But a few months ago, I made a choice that shattered that illusion. I cheated on him, and now I'm left wondering how I managed to lose the only man I've ever truly loved. It started as a fling, some stupid rush I can't even fully explain. I felt flattered by the attention, lured by excitement or boredom, or both. But as time went on, the guilt ate at me. The more I woke up next to Trevor, seeing that familiar warmth in his eyes, the more I realized what I was doing was not just wrong. It was a betrayal that might cost me everything. Eventually, I couldn't take the guilt anymore. I ended the affair, cut off all contact with that other man, and told Trevor the truth. I thought if I came clean, we could find some path forward. Maybe painful, maybe rocky, but at least honest. I expected anger, yelling, tears. But Trevor's reaction was this heartbreaking combination of sadness and quiet acceptance. He just looked at me, his face drained of color, and whispered, "Why?" I couldn't give him a good reason. I remember begging him not to leave me, promising I'd do anything, counseling, therapy, even letting him sleep with other women if he wanted to even the score. He just shook his head, said he wanted to try to work it out on our own. The lack of anger unsettled me more than if he'd screamed and thrown things. From that moment, I became the perfect wife. Every day, I made his favorite meals: spicy chicken pasta, homemade apple pie, the works. I left him sweet notes on his nightstand. I dressed up in new lingerie, hoping to spark some passion or at least a flicker of real emotion. But all he gave me were polite smiles and distant thank yous. Sometimes he'd force a little nod of appreciation, but his eyes never lit up the way they used to. And he never said, "I love you," not once. Even in the bedroom, I had to practically beg for intimacy. He didn't refuse, but it felt more like he was tolerating me than wanting me. It was a million times worse than if he'd just screamed he hated me. At least that would be honest. Instead, it's like he's wearing a mask of kindness, never letting me see if he's dying inside. A few weeks in, he started coming home late, very late. Sometimes I'd be pacing the living room at midnight, heart hammering, wondering where the hell he was. When he finally walked in, exhausted, he'd give me that same too polite smile. If I asked where he'd been, he'd respond, "It's not your business," in the gentlest tone imaginable, like he was telling me a bedtime story, not shutting me down. I tried calling him once and heard a woman's laughter in the background. My mind raced. Is he with someone else? Does he even want me to know? When I confronted him, he shrugged it off. "I'm just talking to someone," he finally admitted, "but I'm not doing anything." That answered nothing. I found out from a mutual friend that someone spotted him in a car with an unfamiliar woman, maybe holding hands. The thought of him with another woman, it killed me. I know, I know. I deserve this after what I did. But the uncertainty was tearing me apart. If he was cheating in retaliation, maybe I could accept that. Let him do it. I told him I'd stomach it. I have no right to complain, right? But he wouldn't tell me anything. He just gave me that distant, heartbreakingly kind expression and told me to stop asking. Eventually, I snapped. I cried, begged him to talk to me, to scream at me, anything. The emotionless courtesy was driving me insane. I guess I pushed too hard because I ended up vomiting from stress right in front of him. For the first time in weeks, he showed real concern, wiping my forehead, helping me clean up, insisting I sit down. That tiny kindness made me break down more, and I demanded he tell me if he was cheating. He finally opened up. He'd been talking to someone for about a month, some woman from his office, but he claimed it was purely emotional, a venting outlet. I asked if that was the same woman in the car. He hesitated, then said, "No, that was another woman." The confusion nearly knocked me over. "What do you mean, another woman? Are you basically sampling a bunch of potential girlfriends?" He gave me this wounded look and said he was so hurt after I cheated that he just started leaning on other people, playing it up so I'd feel a fraction of his betrayal. "You rubbed your affair in my face," he said quietly. "Whether you meant to or not, you showed me every day that I wasn't enough." I tried insisting it was a mistake, not some flaunt. He just stared at me with cold clarity. Mistake or not, it tore me apart. Then he dropped the bigger bomb. "I can't do this marriage anymore. We can do therapy if you want, but we're done as husband and wife." My brain short-circuited. I sobbed, begged, pleaded for him to reconsider, telling him I'd fix myself, fix us. He shook his head, tears brimming in his own eyes, and said, "I wish no harm on you, but you're not the woman I loved. We can't come back from this." He also confessed he'd found a new apartment. He was planning on moving out. I felt my heart crumble into dust. I asked how he could throw away 5 years for some random woman he met a month ago. He retorted that as far as he's concerned, I'm a stranger too, so he's choosing the lesser of two unknowns, and she made a better impression than I did. The way he said it, so calm, so final, broke something in me. Before he left, he made it clear he'd keep our divorce civil, as long as I cooperated. He wouldn't smear my name to our families or mutual friends. But if I tried to make it difficult, drag out the process, demand more money, he'd tell everyone about my affair. He said, "I don't want to destroy you, but I will if you force my hand." That was the last conversation in the house we once called home. He packed up, leaving me with the ring he no longer wanted to wear and a warning not to test him. When the door closed behind him, I collapsed, screaming into the silence. This was the man who used to hold me at night, who used to talk about future kids and a bigger house. Now he's gone, chasing comfort with someone else. And for the first time, I understand the magnitude of what I did. For 2 weeks, I clung to some faint hope he'd come back, or that the other woman was just a bluff. But then, earlier today, I got served with divorce papers. I stared at the envelope, numb. My first instinct was to call him, to text him, to do anything. But I hesitated. I already know what he'll say. "This is happening. We're done." I can't face that. I keep telling myself this is a nightmare, that I'll wake up tomorrow and he'll be in bed next to me, arms wrapped around me like nothing changed. But it has changed, maybe forever. I can't blame him, can I? I betrayed him so fundamentally, he found emotional support, maybe more, in someone else. And now he's out the door for good, leaving me with an empty house full of memories. I wish I had some moral or lesson to wrap this up with. Something about how we'll rebuild trust or how love conquers all. But that's not real right now. Reality is me, alone, sobbing over divorce papers, realizing I let my selfishness bulldoze the one relationship I treasured above all else. I love him, but it might be too late to matter. He's gone, possibly finding solace in someone who never stabbed him in the back. I want to scream that it's unfair, that he's making a rash decision. But I remember the times I snuck around, the nights I told him I was working late while meeting another man. So if it's unfair, I guess I started the cycle. I can't spin it any other way. So that's where I stand. I cheated, confessed, tried to fix it, found out he was emotionally seeking others, and now he's left me. I'm drowning in regret, waiting for a miracle that might never come. He's serious about the divorce. He's serious about moving on. And I'm left here clinging to a memory of who we used to be. I keep replaying every moment we shared. Our wedding day, the first time he told me I was beautiful, the silly fights about Netflix shows. It feels so far away now. In the end, maybe love wasn't enough to fix what I did. Maybe in his eyes, I'm no longer worth saving. All I can do is sign the papers or fight him in court. Neither brings him back, neither undoes the damage. I guess this is my confession to the world. I messed up and lost him. And now I'm alone, staring at divorce papers, wishing I could rewind time, knowing I can't. The house is dead quiet, no footsteps, no tender kisses, just me and my guilt. And that might be how this ends. No second chance, no redemption arc, just the bitter consequences of a choice I can't take back.